Hey warrior, let me set a scene you might know all too well. You open your eyes. Silence in the room, yet your mind is anything but quiet. Before your feet even hit the floor, exhaustion has already settled in. Not because of what today holds, but because of the thoughts that just won't stop circling. What if I fail? Why did I say that back then? Am I really doing enough with my life? You haven't moved an inch, but you're completely spent. And the craziest part? You've become so accustomed to this, it just feels like you're normal. But somewhere inside, you know it's not supposed to be this way. Nobody ever sat you down and told you this. So let me say it plainly. Your mind was never meant to be your adversary. It's meant to be your refuge, your foundation, your compass. Not somewhere you're afraid to be. Not a place that turns on you when things get still. But here's the thing nobody mentioned. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. You can bury it under noise, lose yourself in endless scrolling, anesthetize your mind with entertainment or worse, empty habits. But the quiet always returns. And in that quiet, your mind brings up everything you tried to bury. That's not a flaw. That's a message. A call to step up and lead. Because your mind isn't broken. It's simply untrained. And just like any sharp instrument, it will cut you until you learn to handle it. This is where the ancient Stoics enter the picture. Not with abstract theories, but with grounded truth. They weren't hermits meditating peacefully on hilltops. They were fighters, rulers, captives, outcasts, people who endured real suffering, loss, betrayal, disorder. Yet they refused to let those experiences claim their minds. Why? Because they held one conviction. It isn't events that break you. It's your interpretation of them. Marcus Aurelius, in the thick of war and disease, wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That wasn't a caption for social media. That was a tactic for survival. And it's a skill you can develop too. You don't have to be emotionless. You don't have to shut down your feelings. But you must train where you place your attention. You must reclaim your internal territory. Because if you don't, the outside world will claim it for you. Let's be honest. Your mind is under siege every single day. Comparison on social media. Fear that you're missing out. Haunting memories from yesterday. Worry about what's next. Voices telling you who you should already be. No surprise you're drowning. No surprise you can barely catch your breath sometimes. But here's what I need you to hold on to. You are permitted to pause. You are permitted to reclaim command. And no, it is absolutely not too late. This video isn't about achieving flawlessness. It's about showing up fully to your own thoughts, emotions, and decisions. We're about to move through 7 difficult yet transformative Stoic insights that will teach you to stop hunting for peace and start generating it from within. This isn't just inspiration. This is psychological warfare. So before we move forward, do this one thing for yourself. Close every other tab. Mute the noise around you. Make this the instant you quit fleeing from your thoughts and begin directing them. And if any part of this strikes something deep inside you, don't suppress it. Hit that like button. Write your affirmation in the comment section. Pass this along to someone you care about. Subscribe if you're prepared to forge a mind that finally feels like a safe place. Leave this affirmation below. My mind is my sanctuary and I will defend it. Number 1, quit handing your feelings the wheel. If you're troubled by anything external, the distress isn't caused by the thing itself, it's caused by your judgment of it. Marcus Aurelius. Let's face something uncomfortable. Your emotions are valid, but they aren't always accurate. They're indicators, not orders. Yet most of us behave as though feelings are driving the vehicle and we're simply along for the ride. You feel sadness, everything stops. You feel rage. You lash out or wound someone. You feel dread, you back out of commitments or begin dodging life. But here's the catch. When feelings steer, they almost always crash. A Stoic mind doesn't dismiss emotion. It experiences everything but refuses to comply with every impulse. Let's be truthful here. Have you ever fired off words in fury and instantly wished you hadn't? Have you ever made a reckless choice purely because fear or envy had hold of you in that second? That's what unfolds when feelings hijack the controls without your consent. The first move toward mental mastery is acknowledging, I sense this emotion, but I'm not required to respond to it. Here's a practical strategy that actually functions. When an intense emotion arrives, stop and identify it. Speak it out loud to yourself. This is rage. This is dread. This is humiliation. By giving it a name, you create distance. You are not the feeling. You are the one witnessing it. Then pose this question: what would my most evolved self choose in this moment? That brief hesitation, that solitary inquiry, grants your rational mind room to engage. It blocks an emotional outburst from becoming a permanent regret. The Stoics called this the power of deliberate choice. Not reacting impulsively, but responding with consciousness. You can carry sadness and still show up to work. You can carry fear and still voice the truth. You can carry fury and still elect silence. Self-mastery isn't about crushing your emotions. It's about steering them. Let's make this hit home. The next time emotion threatens to overwhelm you, put it on paper before you act. You'll notice it loses its grip once it's externalized. That's exactly what Marcus Aurelius practiced. His private writings weren't meant for an audience. They were his method of self-correction, affirming, this is what I'm experiencing, yet this is how I elect to respond. Picture how resilient you'd become by doing that daily. Not flawless. Just more awake. Number 2, decelerate your thinking before it seizes command. It's not the person with too little, but the person hungry for more, who is truly poor. Seneca. You want to know what quietly robs your tranquility? It's rarely massive crises. It's the tiny, sprinting thoughts that accumulate and overwhelm you. One moment you're centered. The next, your consciousness is scattered across 5 different timelines. What if I'm not good enough? What was the real intention behind that text? How is everyone else advancing faster? What if tomorrow brings something terrible? And just like that, you're submerged in mental clutter, tense, scattered, depleted, without having accomplished anything. You never even stepped outside. Yet your thoughts just completed a marathon. Here's a reality most people dodge. Overthinking isn't proof of superior intellect. It's evidence of insufficient command. You can be brilliant and still be imprisoned by your own mind. The Stoics understood this. That's precisely why they disciplined their thoughts like they would soldiers. They held that thinking requires direction, not unlimited wandering. So how do you apply the brakes? Begin here. Detect when your cognition is accelerating. When your breath turns shallow. When your pulse quickens without cause. When you've scanned the same line 5 times and absorbed nothing. That's your alert. Then attempt something almost rebellious in this era. Stop. Shut your eyes. Draw air in slowly. Release it even slower. Now identify one genuine source of unease. Not 5. Just one. Most overthinking is merely your consciousness spinning 10 browser tabs simultaneously. So you narrow it to one tab. You instruct your mind, we're handling this, and only this. You're not dismissing everything else. You're simply deciding not to submerge. Here's a Stoic exercise that can transform your daily rhythm: evening introspection. Each night, question yourself, which thoughts generated my anxiety today? Were they even legitimate threats? How might I have answered with greater composure? When you examine rather than merely explode, you begin constructing a blueprint of control. Your mind grows keener. It stops panicking because it recognizes you're monitoring it. You'll detect something significant. When you decelerate your thoughts, your vitality returns. You begin hearing your own inner voice again, not merely the external clamor. And in that stillness, you can decide what to embrace and what to release. Stoicism doesn't demand thoughtlessness. It demands refusing enslavement to every passing idea. You cannot halt your brain from manufacturing thoughts, but you can withdraw fuel from those that injure you. Each thought is a guest. You determine who remains at the table. Drop this affirmation below. I decelerate my thoughts. I determine what remains. Number 3, nourish your mind. Don't contaminate it. The soul absorbs the shade of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. You aren't merely defined by what you consume physically. You're defined by what you consume mentally. If you persistently load your mind with gossip, turmoil, comparison, anxiety, and low-value material, don't be astonished when you feel uneasy, hollow, and disoriented. Most individuals treat their devices like vending machines. They drift aimlessly, consuming whatever appears. But picture approaching food that way, swallowing whatever random substance is handed to you, regardless of how spoiled or poisonous. You become ill rapidly. Right now, reflect, how long have you been fueling your thoughts with refuse without recognizing it? The Stoics exercised extreme care regarding what they permitted into their consciousness because they recognized a weakened mind isn't born weak. It's eroded through relentless interruption and psychological garbage. So here's your mission. Evaluate your mental consumption. Question yourself, whose content am I consuming online? What types of exchanges am I welcoming into my existence? Am I supplying myself with insight or just interference? You know why your thinking feels hazy sometimes. Because it's overloaded with material carrying no significance, no reality, no substance. You don't have to remain there. You can reclaim your mind the same way you reclaim your body when you abandon processed food. Begin with this. Exchange one piece of low-value intake for one piece of insight each day. Read 2 pages from a Stoic text. Spend 10 minutes with something that educates you on stillness or authenticity. Rest in quiet contemplation rather than scrolling. It appears insignificant, yet that's exactly how transformation starts. And don't stop at guarding what enters. Guard your discussions too. If someone consistently radiates pessimism, superficiality, or toxicity, restrict that exposure. That's not impolite. That's safeguarding your equilibrium. Even if your body is powerful. Even if your physical health is intact. A contaminated mind will still pull you under. You must interrogate yourself daily. Is what I'm absorbing today assisting me in becoming the individual I hold in high regard? If it isn't, it's interference and doesn't merit your focus. Every time you intake something, ask, does this hone me or dull me? Does it amplify my apprehension or ignite my resilience? Because whatever you feed expands. Drop this affirmation below. I fuel my mind with lucidity, not disorder. Number 4, educate your mind to witness, not ingest. We're more frequently frightened than wounded, and we endure more in imagination than actuality. Seneca. Consider this. Someone passes you and furrows their brow. Instantly, your mind begins composing a narrative. They're irritated with me. I must have made a mistake. People are always withdrawing from me. But perhaps they were simply enduring a difficult morning. Perhaps you weren't involved at all. Yet your consciousness consumed that instant and distorted it into a personal assault. That's what most individuals do unconsciously. They ingest every minor remark, every hesitant silence, every brief stillness, and convert it into suffering. But a Stoic doesn't ingest. A Stoic witnesses. They register what occurs. Without assigning excessive meaning. Here's the reality. Not everything you sense represents truth. Not everything you hear reflects reality. Not everything you observe centers on you. Yet your undisciplined mind will persistently attempt to join fragments, even when those fragments don't align. It's draining, isn't it? Perpetually assuming someone's displeased with you. Continually interpreting others' conduct as encrypted messages. Feeling unsafe even in safe spaces. This is precisely why your consciousness demands conditioning. You must learn to perceive circumstances as they objectively exist, not as your apprehension colors them. Here's the method. First, decelerate your judgments. Your brain craves rapid resolutions. They didn't respond to my message. They must despise me. But next time, inquire, what alternate explanations exist here? Do I possess evidence or merely a sensation? This solitary pause neutralizes the vast majority of emotional overreactions. Second, distinguish reality from sentiment. Experiencing exclusion is an emotion. But is it objectively true? Were you genuinely omitted, or is previous injury speaking? The Stoics employed this as a discipline of intellectual honesty. Seneca would examine his day each evening, asking, "Did I perceive clearly today, or did my anxieties distort the reality?" This practice isn't comfortable. Yet it liberates. Because when you cease ingesting every emotion, you stop hemorrhaging from injuries that don't exist. Third, adopt curiosity over suspicion. Substitute condemnation with investigation. Instead of, "They're disregarding me," consider, "Perhaps they're exhausted. Perhaps they're preoccupied. Perhaps this isn't connected to me whatsoever." This isn't feebleness. This is cognitive command. This embodies stoicism in ordinary existence. It isn't merely memorable phrases and composure. It's deliberately refusing to contaminate your thinking with baseless suppositions, because suppositions become narratives. Narratives solidify into convictions. And convictions forge your self-definition. Don't permit counterfeit stories to occupy your consciousness. Remain a composed observer, not an emotional absorber. Drop this affirmation below. I witness the world. I don't ingest the disturbance. Number 5, instruct your mind to accept uncertainty. Don't insist that events conform to your preferences. Allow them to unfold as they naturally do, and your existence will move smoothly. Epictetus. Let's acknowledge it. We despise uncertainty. Not understanding what others genuinely think of us. Not knowing what tomorrow holds. Not knowing how our choices will ultimately resolve. That apprehension of the indefinite. It's what feeds anxiety. It's what traps you in perpetual rumination. It's what drives you to manipulate circumstances you were never designed to govern. But here's the Stoic reorientation. You don't require complete knowledge to experience tranquility. You simply need faith in your capacity to navigate whatever emerges. That represents authentic control. Not commanding the hurricane, but commanding your navigation through it. The contemporary mind demands instant answers. So it queries search engines obsessively. It dissects every message excessively. It attempts to forecast the future. And collapses into exhaustion. Yet the Stoic consciousness responds, "Let me execute what lies within my influence. Let me equip myself, while simultaneously releasing what exceeds my jurisdiction." This form of release isn't submission. It's discernment. So how do you cultivate this? First, exercise uncompromising presence. Question yourself, what constitutes reality in this precise instant? Am I genuinely endangered right now, or am I merely dreading what could materialize? Because fear doesn't inhabit the current moment. It inhabits the realm of what if. And you cannot construct serenity in the territory of what if. Second, permit the unknown to instruct you. Uncertainty offers education. It cultivates humility. It develops endurance. It builds confidence not in results, but in your personal evolution. When Epictetus was stripped of everything, his residence, his autonomy, he didn't collapse. He declared, "You may constrain my physical form, but not my volition." Why? Because he trusted that regardless of what approached, he could confront it with lucidity. You possess that same capability. Each time you withstand the compulsion to pursue certainty, you condition your mind to remain steady while standing in ambiguity. That constitutes genuine authority. Third, establish room for silence. Most of the time, the solutions you're pursuing won't emerge from commotion. They surface in quietness, in patience, in permitting time to function as it does. Grant yourself permission to acknowledge, "I don't possess the answer yet," and that's acceptable. The appropriate resolution will arrive when I'm prepared, or when existence determines it. This isn't indolence. This represents emotional maturation. You aren't required to foresee everything. You simply need to trust your capacity to endure anything. Drop this affirmation below. I release my grip on certainty. I trust my resilience in the undefined. Number 6. Establish consistent mental practices, not emotional reliance. Don't merely articulate your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. Some mornings you rise feeling capable, concentrated, tranquil, equipped. The following day, anxious, agitated, unmoored once more. What shifted? The reality is that most individuals construct their entire psychological framework around their momentary state. If motivation flows, they take action. If energy wanes, they surrender. They function by mood rather than structure. This represents a hazardous existence because your emotional condition isn't constant. It resembles climate patterns, perpetually in flux. And if your entire experience depends on first feeling adequate, you'll never establish enduring command over your consciousness. The Stoics offered a superior alternative. They didn't postpone action until optimal conditions emerged. They developed routines that disciplined their mentality each day, regardless of their internal state. Permit me to ask you something. Do you maintain a cognitive regimen, not merely a task inventory? I'm referring to something that centers your attention and refines your internal clarity before the daily disorder begins. Because existence will consistently amplify in volume. So if you don't commence your day with deliberate intention, external circumstances will determine your disposition for you. Let's examine practical implementation. First, commence with stillness. 5 minutes each morning. No device. No audio. Simply sit. Breathe gradually. Allow your thoughts to stabilize. This isn't meditation in the fashionable interpretation. This is cognitive alignment. You're declaring, before I engage with the external domain, I first verify my internal condition. Second, inscribe one directing statement. Every Stoic maintained personal writings. This represented their method of remembering their identity amid surrounding turmoil. Compose something such as, "Today I will not accelerate unnecessarily. My tranquility cannot be negotiated. I select lucidity over reflex." Straightforward. Substantial. Purposeful. You don't require an elaborate journal. You simply require regularity. Third, disconnect your conduct from your emotional state. This is fundamental. Whether you experience lethargy or exhaustion, continue appearing. Perhaps not at complete capacity, perhaps merely at reduced function. But continue appearing, because your future isn't concerned with your emotional state on a particular day. It's concerned with what you accomplish despite that emotional state. Your mind begins to hold you in higher regard when it recognizes you don't collapse each time your disposition fluctuates. That regard transforms into self-assurance. That self-assurance transforms into fortitude. That fortitude transforms into mastery. You are not your emotions. You are your consistent practices. Drop this affirmation below. I function through discipline, not temporary feeling. Number 7. Forge your interior domain to surpass the exterior one. An individual's value rises no higher than their aspirations. Marcus Aurelius. Here's a reality you may sense profoundly. The surrounding environment intensifies continuously. More rapid. More demanding. More viewpoints. More contrasts. More strain to accomplish and demonstrate. And amid this disorder, countless individuals lose contact with their essential nature. They pursue external approval. They crave acceptance. They dread assessment. They construct their complete self-definition around elements beyond their influence. Follower counts. Public perception. Accumulated admiration. Yet the Stoics recognized a deeper truth. If your tranquility hinges on external conditions, you will never genuinely govern yourself. The genuine endeavor involves constructing an interior foundation so resilient that you remain unshaken when external forces attempt to unsettle you. Here's your starting point. First, abandon the pursuit of external approval. Not everyone must comprehend your path. Not everyone must endorse your choices. Actually, occasionally being misinterpreted represents the price of profound authenticity. Affirm to yourself, if I'm operating with integrity and deliberate intention, that constitutes sufficiency. Second, reinterpret what constitutes achievement. Don't permit external standards to determine this for you. Does it manifest as tranquility, self-regard, consistent dedication regardless of circumstances? Document your personal definition. Allow that to navigate your choices. Not prevailing fashions. Not excessive promotion. Not ambient noise. Third, commemorate interior victories. Acknowledge when you preserve composure under strain. Acknowledge when you maintain your established limits. Acknowledge when you withhold reaction, even when no observer recognizes it. That represents authority that most individuals never comprehend because they're excessively occupied attempting to appear formidable instead of genuinely becoming formidable. The exterior environment will continuously shift. Yet you can remain a constant illumination. This represents the Stoic objective. Not evading existence, but cultivating a consciousness that preserves equilibrium regardless of what existence presents. Drop this affirmation below. My strength originates internally. I don't pursue external validation. Let's consolidate this. If you've accompanied me to this point, you're not seeking superficial encouragement. You're pursuing fundamental truth. And here it is. You will not attain flawless mental command. There will continue to be occasions of excessive rumination, impulsive reactions, recurrence of established tendencies. Yet you currently possess awareness. And awareness constitutes authority. You currently recognize. You are not equivalent to your emotional states. You are equivalent to your selections. You are not equivalent to your thoughts. You are equivalent to your reactions to them. You need not anticipate existence. You simply need to confront it with clarity. This is precisely what Stoicism prepares you to accomplish. Every hesitation you insert before responding. Every instance of introspection rather than explosion. Every occasion you select structured conduct over impulsive reaction. That represents mastery. That constitutes development. That embodies liberation. Therefore, no. You need not exist without apprehension. You simply need to encounter your consciousness and guide it as a warrior would. Don't pursue an immaculate mind. Construct a resilient one. One that maintains position. One that attends carefully. One that determines with discernment. You possess this capacity. Not because existence will diminish in difficulty, but because you will amplify in fortitude. If this content served you, indicate so. Comment. Distribute. Subscribe for additional Stoic insights that genuinely facilitate internal transformation. Deposit this closing affirmation below. I direct my consciousness. I don't merely trail behind it.